big piece of work that I did at Who Gives a Crap, my last in-house role, where I wore a lot of people, talent, and culture hats, was switching to skills-based hiring. And that meant our role scoping process was not just, hey, what's a job ad, slapping it up on our job board and then running people through an interview process, but it was really digging deep and defining the role, not only having a kickoff with the hiring manager, but really figuring out what the needs are for the business and what the risks are if we don't hire it. And also being a little bit not such a delivery function, but a really strategic partner with hiring managers. We're coming out of a really strange time, particularly in the VC world, where for the last 10 years, we've been in a zero interest market where you could spend a lot of money and it was a lot easier to get capital. But now boards and investors and leadership are looking much more at teams to be really efficient and effective with their human capital plans and the capital they're given. So that ties into skills-based hiring. So it's really, delving in. If you couldn't get an FTE tomorrow, what does this look like? Is this a consultant? Is this a project? Is this a 12-month contract? Is this a piece of tool or a tech or a program? How would you solve this problem today if you couldn't get that full-time hire tomorrow? Is it a capacity problem or is it a capability problem? And really going to task with hiring managers and teams on what that looks like and working with them together to really scope out that role. I'm always excited when I see someone from a main company or coming from an Ivy League or even just from a notable program or company that I really admire. But that's a bias, right? There's a particular bias there. And sometimes, or oftentimes, is particularly when you're getting excited about candidates that have worked in, 1,000 or, million plus, orgs, they have a lot more resources available. So teammates, tools, tech, things and foundations in place that when you're at that earlier stage and you're hiring a founding teammate that's building something from scratch, or if not, it's barely off the ground. They need to be really comfortable in that ambiguity and working with less and doing a lot more with that. And that's not to say that anyone coming from a big fancy company or with again, like great programs, great education can't do those things. But I task everyone to really look between the lines and really look at the attitudes and aptitudes and hiring on potential and hiring someone that hasn't done something before, or maybe coming from a company that you don't recognize, but having a conversation about the things they're excited to do, the things they love to do, the things that they've touched but they didn't get enough of. Those are going to be the ones that want to wake up way before their alarm and contribute and add to your team and culture. And you want to really look for those diamonds in the rough. And so I try to steer clear a little bit of, adding years of experience or must have 8 to 10 plus years in this, there's a period right there. What was another one that I'm getting? Shoot, you said something earlier. They're smaller teams. Workforce is changing. So thinking about your total rewards program is, early on is huge. So it's not just your base or throwing equity at, your founding team or your early team, but thinking, holistically about the flexibility that you can give teammates. 57% of the workforce right now are millennials, and they want flexibility. They're the ones more than ever are either pushing for hybrid work or fully remote work. So being intentional about, not just maybe don't feel like you always have to pay for top talent at 90, 100% of your market. Thinking about really creating a flexible total rewards that's really going to have some of the tangibles and intangibles, what your top talent for your business will look like. So, things like, again, flexibility, the type of work, God, the flexibility, some of the values and the mission or the impact that they can have, as well as the flexibility, oh my goodness, what's going on there? Come on. I'm hitting a wall. What I'm trying to talk, I was on a webinar earlier this week about millennials and what Gen Zs want, and they're already the majority of the workforce. And they're looking for mission-driven companies. They're looking for companies who their values are aligned with companies' values, both their ways of working, but also what they're putting back out in the world. Things, industries like climate tech, sustainability, or being, even in fintech or edtech, being a challenger to the status quo and doing something different that will leave the world in a better place than where we found it is something that's really, really key to employees now. So don't feel like you always have to throw a flashy title or a really robust equity package or really high level of comp at at top talent right now. The intangibles are just as important, if not more important, for our current workforce, who are now already the majority of our workforce, and it's increasingly important. So thinking about your work setup. Period. There's a period.